Okay, welcome back to turn 42 of the 8-wheeled handicap. So, highest casualty last turn since turn 1, I think. We had these guys down here. Yeah, so they got shot up by these two BTRs down here. The surviving sword gunner may or may not make it. We'll see. Down here, we might have some Russian infantry trying to flank round to the left, but these guys on the side of the slope here should be able to deal with that if they put their heads up. And the only other real thing that's happening is our javelin gunner, who apparently now doesn't have a missile, is going to go back and try and loot it off his dead buddy, which I assume has it. Because it said he had a missile in a house, so who knows what's going on there. But yeah, apart from that, something's probably going to blow up. We've probably called some artillery in. It's been a little while since the last turn, so I can't really remember. But we're just going to press go, get this camera angle down here so we can check what's going on, and we'll see what we get.
Roger, check fire. End of mission.
Oh, yeah, we're starting to see things. Or see some more things, rather. A little bit of enemy infantry in there. That's that BTR that we engaged down there. That's some artillery. That gunfire was probably a little bit of fire coming from over here at these guys, so we'll take a closer look at that, like we always do. And ooh, there's that T90 again. Really hope we find that javelin, that remaining javelin missile, wherever it is. Really want to get rid of that tank. Right, so yeah, no casualties with that turn. Let's go check what happened with the old javelin guy. No, he's just basically going to try and crawl over this way. Oh, he can see the javelin from there, which is handy. I see the javelin. See the T90 from there, which obviously we want. Just needs to go and get the actual missile, and then when we get over here, this guy just managed to crawl away, did he?
Roger, check fire. End of mission.
Yeah, he's not suppressed or anything. There's no incoming. Okay. Yeah. And we have down here things carrying on, don't we? So the Stryker's moved up a little bit.
Roger, check fire. End of mission.
And that BTR's popped up. These guys, yeah, these are the guys that it shot at before, so they don't have any actual AT weapons left. And then we've got some enemy infantry down there. Just looks like a rifleman. And possible sound contact down here, actually. That's interesting. You can see that. Ah, it's the M240 team. That's the arty coming in to boot. So yeah, those guys have had enough again. Continuing our deforesting operations down here. And yeah, it looks like they've been effectively driven off. Let's see, there's like some kind of HQ unit, and then these guys are pushing off into the field. yeah, we will take that. That'll do. So let's just press the button. See if we get the. We might get the ceasefires out there. So AjarmanG might ceasefire here. We'll see. And oh yes, right there we go. So it was on the table. Let's see, how did we do? First off, we didn't neither of us actually attained our objectives, as it were. It's really come down to the casualties. So both objectives were denied, and then when we got on to casualties, I caused 134 points worth, and he caused 42 points worth. So not as uneven as it might have seemed. So I lost 2 armoured vehicles. Yep, that's the 2 strikers on the left. 1 man wounded, 17 dead. I've got 161 left. AjarmanG's got 277, still kicking, 63 men dead, 31 wounded. He's lost 2 tanks and 11 armoured vehicles, or BTRs.
Okay, we're gonna fast forward here to August for the rest of the after action bit here, because like I did with Hell and the Hedgerows, I rewatched the recording I made when I pressed review map the first time, and it's basically a kind of waffly attention deficit disorder experience, so I'll try and tighten this up a little bit. The first thing I want to say is obviously a big thanks to AjarmanG here for playing against me and putting up a fight. It's been one of those games where kind of the mind games were at the forefront. Sometimes you get combat mission games where it's all action, and this one was a bit less like that. And I know from reading the comments that there might not have been quite as much excitement and as much carnage as people might have been expecting. And bearing in mind that part of this is trying to find a way to play as the Stryker Infantry, which is, as we described in the overview, is pretty light and does not really want to be in direct confrontation with anything if it can avoid it. This kind of result, in fact this kind of gameplay, really suited the Stryker Infantry down to the ground, as evidenced by the fact that they're not all on fire and not all of my pixel tripmen are dead, just a few of them. So if we look at the map, yeah, my main force in here behind the ridgeline is pretty much where it has been since turn, what, 2? Turn 3? And then we can see on the flip side, AjarmanG's forces, AjarmanG's Russians, are also pretty much where they've been since the early stages of the game. Now, part of this, certainly on my side, has definitely been my plan, as we know all the way from the start, has been to grab the reverse slope behind the ridgeline here and hold on for dear life, because I don't have the kind of force with the Stryker Infantry to go all out and start attacking things, especially not when the terrain on the other side here is all nice and flat and dangerous as hell. And it seems pretty likely, to be honest, that AjarmanG has exactly the same idea. His forces are also lined up on the other side of the reverse slope. Of course, he's stacked up the town with infantry, which is entirely sensible because it's a hard point. And he's got his supporting units up on the high ground. Don't really have any supporting units, so they're not. I don't have the same kind of options available to me there. Though it is actually, if we look at the back, he's got 2 Tunguska AA vehicles. So my decision in the end to not bring along any air power is pretty vindicated, because it wouldn't have lasted very long. That's always nice to know. So I'm not 100% sure if AjarmanG's plan was to always stack up on this reverse slope position in exactly the same way that I have done, or whether we've had the first couple of turns, that kind of initial entrance to the game, whether I've shown enough aggression, and I've managed to be intimidating enough for him to think, whoa, we're going to slam the brakes on. And if Hapless is going to do this, he's going to come to me, and I'll fight him on my terms. So, you know, the A-team ploy tactic, whatever we want to call it, at the start, bum rushing forward, getting into a position that the enemy can't ignore, and then using them as bait on a prepared battleground. You can see we've got the TRP here in the moonscape, and we've got this other TRP down here, haven't we? Using that to knock the momentum out of the enemy may or may not have helped. AjarmanG almost certainly wanted to have some bodies in these buildings. We had the BTRs coming up and the infantry, and it makes sense for him to take up positions here if he wants to defend the bridge. We've kind of denied him that and then bombed the snot out of him. So you have that stacking up on the kind of intimidation scale, and then of course we have the javelins. So very early on we've had you know, a T90 over here that got javelined, and we had the other one over on this side, also a javelin. AjarmanG still has tanks left. He's got a T90 here, and we've had this T90 over here, this one that killed the second A-team Stryker and got 8 kills, and then this one here, which if we drop down is positioned to cover that slope over there, just in case I had anything back there. Plus we've got, of course, ATGM teams over here covering everything. Does kind of look like he's gone for a defensive setup here. And that, you know, that works for the Stryker Infantry, like we've said. The one place that I have been able to push, or was prepared to push, is this flank over here, and you can kind of see how this force on the far right here could have ended up getting into a bit of a sticky position here. There's quite a lot of Russians here. This is like a weapons platoon, so we have PK machine guns and ATGMs up here. Those two are just vehicle crews in various states of distress. I'm not sure if they were gonna, how much they would crumble. I have no idea why the MG team is facing back that way. That's dumb. No idea whether they were just going to crumble. They are in a, you know, nervous. They're all rattles, you know, that kind of thing. Or whether I'd have to bring some artillery in down on the woods there, which I could have easily done because I moved up a fire support team. Well, maybe not from there because they can't see it, but you get the idea. And then of course by then we probably have some more infantry in here, and as they flee we could shoot them as they run across the stream. So there's a good chance that we could have pushed that, but that whole push is based on small unit tactics backed up by a lot of artillery. The artillery, as always, is the big killer, and down at this kind of tactical level here, with the fire support teams and the TRPs and things, like you saw in the video, very quick, very super responsive artillery. I can pretty much pick you know, wherever I want to bomb and be dropping artillery on it within a minute or two, 5 minutes max. Which obviously when you get into these kind of engagements, if I run into trouble I can be bailed out very, very, very quickly. And as we saw in the woods here, you know, these small teams moving up, bump into the enemy, shoot them up. They've got a lot more firepower in the individual teams than the Russians do, so when you have these small compartment-like fights, it's always a bit of a risk at the start because you don't know who's going to get the first shot in, and I probably got lucky quite a few times. But that happens, that's okay. So we've managed to push the enemy out of here. I have to say I'm surprised with how effective the 40mm grenades have been. Knocking out BTRs all over the place. One of the things that AjarmanG did say, because we were obviously in contact while we were playing the game, is that he tended to not actually see any of my troops. So again, on top of this, quick artillery and lots of firepower down at the cutting edge, we have this other advantage that the Americans have, which is better spotting. We have, thermal optics all over the place, magnification, ACOGs, all this stuff, which the Russians simply don't have. And that pays off when you're at, I'm not going to say close range, that's not quite right, when you're in these little small unit knife fights. From a small unit perspective. Yeah, that, I think it is about it. We'll just go see, have a look at some of the kills and things. So the A team are probably getting the Man of the Match award. You have the scout team at the front, 10 enemy casualties and a BTR-82. This lonely saw gunner, 5 casualties on his own. The A team leader here, 4 enemy casualties and a BTR. That striker got nothing. We already picked him. The 2 casualties and a BTR from the Javelin team. Then, of course, something I forgot to mention, the extremely cheeky lone survivor from the second A-team striker, who's just sat in the objective denying it to the enemy. Though I'm not actually sure, looking at this, if AjarmanG had any... Well, he must have had troops in, otherwise I would have got the objective. So yeah, just ignore that. Duh. You can also see, actually, going back to the prepared plan, I've just spotted this, but AjarmanG also has TRPs on his prepared ground. So we've got one in here, one in there. There's one back here as well. So you can kind of see how he was prepared to, fight in certain areas. And we've kind of, especially with the A-team, managed to kind of preempt that a little bit, which is always good. Back to the kills. MGS striker over here. 1 BTR and 1 enemy casualty. Something we're going to see quite a lot here is it's almost always the right people in the right place at the right time getting the kills. Just 1 there. None. Not a lot. Oh, 8. Oh, he's a fire support, so that's from the artillery. Noticeably, none of the strikers have really done very much. Those guys killed a T90. These guys, 6. T90. 2 none, 2 in a BTR, that's FST. It's the right people in the right place at the right time that get the job done, and overall it is a pretty low casualty count. What were we? 63 men dead, call it 100 on the AjarmanG side and 20 on my side. So yeah. What killed most of me? Probably that T90 again. That's like half of my casualties right there. Which is either the AI or a orders issue, depends on your outlook. It might well have been okay if it was still on the road, but you win some, you lose some. They did their job anyway. Would have been interesting to see what would happen if they were all in there. But yeah. There we go. A little look at how to play the Stryker Infantry Battalion, or Stryker Infantry units in a multiplayer game. I hope you guys all enjoyed that. We'll be getting on with... what have I got in the pipeline? It's going to be a little while before I put another combat mission video out. I've got to put together... the other side of the coin, as it were. I've been playing a couple of games as the Russians against the Americans, full contact, trying to get a handle on how the Russians handle in that kind of situation, which is very interesting. Going to be fun to watch. There's enough carnage in the particular game that I'm going to do to completely offset the lack of carnage in this one. Trust me. So we're going to be having a look at BTR motor rifle infantry, motor rifle battalions. We've also got a that's probably going to be a stand-up normal kind of video. The next video series like this is probably going to be Final Blitzkrieg again. That's going to be quite interesting. Very snowy map that we're going to be playing on. I don't know how it's going to pan out yet, but it should be pretty interesting. So yeah, there we go. Hope you guys all enjoyed that. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, all that jazz, and I will catch you in the next video.